As you can see, I'm not in Lincolnshire. I am in some hills. I've got some sheep behind me over there, and Rhonda and I are in Wales. We've come here yesterday, Saturday, just for a week. We thought we'd come somewhere with the dogs. We go to Portugal a bit in the winter time, as some of you know, without the dogs, so we thought it's only fair to let the dogs have a holiday as well. So we've got this lovely cottage that we came to last year, lovely secluded garden, dogs love it, except when we came yesterday, lovely weather when we arrived, glorious drive over Lake Bala and Corwin, and we're near Criceth. That's where we are in North Wales. Glorious scenery, lovely weather, and today woke up and it was raining, and this is Saturday afternoon about 6 o'clock and it's still raining. Tomorrow is a bit better, but this is what happens when you come to a holiday in England sometimes, or into Wales especially. Anyway, what have we got this update? I've got looking at a clip that I did with Henry. This is Godson Henry at the show. I often get people asking about the floods, how are we? And just touching on that, we heard this week, which I'll touch on this a bit more in detail when I get home, but we heard this week that the Environment Agency have said they can't repair a river bank because they said it's going to cost 5 million to repair it, and it's too much money for them to repair. And so this river bank in Lincolnshire isn't going to get repaired at the moment because of the funds needed. I'll touch on that a bit more detail when I know a bit more. Anyway, I've got start off this update with Henry at the show, looking at how his situation is from the flooding with him. Also some workshop jobs, and I thought we'd give you an update on the Capulet beans. I recorded that a couple of days ago before we left, so those are the baked beans we're doing. And also a new weeder. You saw a clip of it in last week's update, and somebody came to me and said, would we try this weeder? It's the only one in the country, and it's a machine that is used to cultivate the weeds out rather than spraying, so we'll try that as well. Anyway, let's crack on with this update. Thanks for watching, and if you make it to the end, we'll see you then. At the show, and got godson Henry here. A lot of you recognise Henry from the videos we've been in, and also the flooding. So Henry, situation with yours at the moment?
So literally yesterday we've got all that block drilled with this winter bird food. We just worked it with a TWB, and then we've gone in with the drill. We just let that have some rain on it. It shows how good this land is. It's just literally TWB'd it, some showers of rain on it, straight in with the Vardastat, and it's just gone in. I'm pleased I'm here and away from the farm, to be honest, and see some like friends and just cheer me up a bit, because it was absolutely soul destroying yesterday. That is the most beautiful land, the most productive land I farm anywhere, and it's now gone into winter bird food. And to me, that seems it's like a criminal offence.
It is, I know. And you've seen from the clip we've just overlaid on here what it's been like, and the soil is the most fantastic soil. It's very high in organic matter. It will grow most crops you can imagine, and a lot of them without irrigation because it's naturally got moisture underneath anyway. But as you say, it's soul destroying, but you can't carry on putting a crop in there and then getting flooded and getting no compensation.
This is it. I can't risk it. No. It's just too risky. The amount of money, amount of money we have to spend to establish a crop, and then if we get flooded and it wipes it out, I'll be out of business.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
So we've got to. I don't like it, but we've just had to be pragmatic about this SFI and put it in. But I think it's such a shame. But the thing is, we've got to get the whole topic of river maintenance and what the EA are doing. We've got to get, now it's dried up and it's summer, it always gets forgotten about. We've got to get this back on the agenda.
But there's a meeting on the 10th, isn't there? We've got all going to, except me, because I'm at Warwick University that day, so I can't go. But I think the thing I would like to see is now the EA have had enough time now to consider what they're going to do. We need some answers on what are they going to do, what are they planning to improve, how are they going to change their maintenance of rivers, and to my mind, the amount of wildlife destruction they have caused, the amount of damage to the environment, and yet they're unaccountable.
I know.
And this is what we need to see in the next government as well. We need them to be more accountable.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. They've had enough time. We flooded in October the first time. We're meeting in July. Now, if that ain't enough time to come up with a reasonable plan, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
So we need, I keep saying it, we need to see action, but that meeting, we've just got to hold their feet to the fire. What have you come up with? And we've got to move on.
We have, yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for that, Henry. I know everybody's, with you, and you see the clips you keep sending us and what's happening on the farm there. But it is soul destroying, like you say. You can't. There's no other word for it. But you can't carry on having those losses and having banks burst. But the whole of that network, the bank's ruined, isn't it? The bank's no good.
This is the thing. If we have a wet winter. and it overtops, that bank's going to go again,
Yeah.
and you'll see me on the bloody news. It'll just be the same again, and it will. So we've got to come up with a plan now.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's got,
Yeah.
if it needs to flood, it can flood, but then we need paying for it. That's the
And
point.
that repair that happened, the repair to that bank that they did a few months ago, that was only meant to be temporary, wasn't it?
It is a temporary. They say that's got a lifespan of 3 years.
I bet you, though, the temporary soon becomes permanent, because I can't see them coming back to doing it.
Well, that temporary repair is better than the mile of riverbank.
This is it.
And they say that's got a 3-year lifespan. So what's the each side of it got? About 5
worse?
minutes.
Yeah, horrendous. Anyway, Henry, thanks for that, and we'll keep everybody tuned on what's happening. But yeah, where everybody feels for you, it's a really bad situation. So we've got the MLE Plow in the workshop just to get it ready. We're going to be starting to do this in another couple of weeks at the very most, maybe a bit less. The legs obviously go in the back here, and these are the legs that are on the bench here that Ian's hard faced. So we put this special hard facing on so that it protects the leg and stops the leg from wearing. So soil will trap in between here, and it will be soil on soil rather than soil on the leg. This is really special hard facing welding wire, so it'll protect the leg. There's a leading edge to go on the front of the leg there. That's what goes through the ground, and then this is what we call an expander that opens it out behind it a bit wider and creates like a channel, and that's why it's called a mole, under the ground and connects the drains. I'll show you that when it gets going on. Ian's just repairing the rolls. The rolls have got cracked the same place, both sides, there and also in the other corner. You can see there it started to go down, started to crack down and go down this box section down here. So that one they're grinding out and a plate putting on. That's what Ian's doing now in the other corner. You can see it's just starting to go across that box section as well. Just thought it was time for a Capulet bean update. Ruben's in the field here at the moment spraying, and just wanted to show you the black oats that we've got. They were put in originally to help to draw the beans up, because these beans grow very low to the floor. So because they grow low to the floor, the pods are on the ground and they're difficult to harvest. We do need to get a McDon header, the special header that goes on the front of the combine that picks the crops up right that are laying on the floor. We do need to get that, so we've got something organised. But also these beans, when they're going into the combine and they die off, there's not a lot of volume going in the combine and it doesn't feed very well. So these black oats growing up with them helps the crop into the combine better and helps perform the combine work better. Now the idea is we spray these oats off before they set seed. So at the time we get to harvest, all that's going through the combine is straw, in effect, is stems. There's no seed coming out. So there'll be no contamination of any seed. And if there was, it wouldn't matter, because you can because these beans are so much bigger than the oats, you could just separate the two out after harvest. But we will hopefully spray them off before we get to that. But it's just, at the minute, they're just a little bit big, the oats are, and it's whether they're just doing doing what we want them to do. So we're putting a mix of trace elements on just to help these beans grow a bit, because they've really been struggling because of the lack of the sun and warm weather. And you can just see here a bit of volunteer rape actually there, but you can just see these beans are doing all right, but they are a bit on the thin side. Ooh, ladybird there. What we're spraying on here won't hurt him or her. But yeah, the black oats are just a bit thick, as you can see. We put them on at about 17 kilograms a hectare, and you can just see now they are like a wheat field. Whether they're just too thick and they're smothering the light out or not, I don't know. We shall see. It's whether they're just taking too much nutrients. But I would stress, it's not unique to this crop, so I don't want anybody thinking, oh, these beans are no good, they're not going to grow because they're not a crop for this country. It's no different to wheat and barley crops being written off due to the rain in October, and also in January when people re-drilled, and February when re-drilling carried on. So it's just the weather at the wrong time, and it didn't need 27 millimetres of rain straight after drilling is what it got. See here, the beans here, look. Again, look all right here. I've now come into one of the fields where we planted the beans with the Amazon sugar beet drill, and you can just see behind me, and I'll show you in a minute closer up, the beans are very few and far between in this field and the other field that we planted with the sugar beet drill. And it's not because of the drill itself, it's just because of the nature of how the sugar beet drills are, all of the designs are. I think the problem was because we had 27 millimeters of rain straight after planting, because it puts the seed in such a narrow strip, it doesn't move much soil around it. It didn't allow the rain and the water to get through and away from the seed. And I think the seed sat in a lot of water for quite a few days. And I think that's the problem we've had with it. What we're just wondering about is killing off everything here apart from the black oats. And this is the black oats is the crop that we were going to be killing. So just wondering whether to keep that now and harvest the black oats to get something from the field, because otherwise there'll be absolutely zero income from this field. You see the black oats have come really well. Just walked across the lane to a field that we drilled with the free flow, and this is better than the sugar beet drill, but not as good as the other field we drilled with the free flow that you saw a minute ago. You can see we have got some beans there growing, but again, not very many of them. But I think what there is here, we've got to keep these and try and harvest as much as we can, because it'll just set the whole project back too much if we scrap this field, because this field is 67 acres. Yeah, really disappointing. Really heavy soil this is. 55% clay, 30% silt. Now the last field is where we have got a decent plant, but the soil's a little bit kinder, not quite so much clay in it. This was drilled with the free flow, the headlands, the outside of this field. So you can see really good number of beans amongst them, amongst the oats as well. But this is the field where we drilled the middle of the field with the sugar beet drill and the outsides with the Simba. And it really does just show the difference here, really highlights it. So this is still the Simba drill at the minute. Now we're getting into the area where the sugar beet drill put in the black oats, but no beans at all here again. So it's only the outside of the field that we've got beans. Again, we need to decide, I think, if we keep these black oats and combine these, so we've got some crop for next year. So Tom and Ruben have got the mole drainer, as I'm going to call it. It's not a plough, I don't know why it's called a plough, but got the mole drainer sorted. These are the legs that's in. So you can see now, if Nala would move out the way. Thank you, Nala. Nala, good girl, come on. So that's what goes through the ground. You can see it sort of pointed as a lead. And then it creates a round tube, burrow or mole channel through the ground, and then behind it you have what you call an expander. Now that is on a chain, so that flops down and that follows through there. Now that expander is bigger than that, so the final shape of the drain channel under the ground will be final size will be like that. So it's about 3 inches, 3.5 inches diameter. And then see the hard facing that we put on to protect the leg, put a new wearing shin on the leg as well, so it's all ready to go next week. And then your disc goes along and just cuts the ground and stops so much heave, but it will heave and create a bit of surface disturbance, but not too much because of that disc. Anyway, looking forward to getting this going behind the 8RX. Hopefully it will pull it. Got a fresh machine here that someone's asked us if we want to try it, and it's a sort of a weeding machine. We're just going to unfold it and see what it's like, and I'll explain and hear a bit about it, but whether it will work or not, I'm not too sure. So you can see it's got some star type wheels all along it, and they go around and flick the weeds out, but I can't really work out how it flicks the weeds out, doesn't flick the crop out, because you can go through this in a crop that's growing. So we're just going to unfold it. Apologies, by the way, if you can hear any wind. My Discovery has gone to have the air conditioning sorted, and I've gone and left the muffled microphone in a Discovery. So I'm afraid while we're demoing this, if there's any wind, I can't do anything about it. And then that back one comes round. I think the machine's 12 metres wide altogether. There you go. You can see what the they're all interspersed, and you can lift one up if you want to do inter-row work apparently. Anyway, we'll see what it's like. We've come in a field where we haven't got a crop on it apart from a cover crop, so we thought if it rips this up, it won't. It's not the end of the world. Just looking at the soil here, you can see here how it started to crumble and break, and this is just what happens with high clay content soils here. Look at that, how it's all crumbling. But you get big lumps, that's just solid lumps there, wet lump that is. So it's not a cultivator, but it's just it's called a weeder. You can see how they're all undulating up and down. Really fantastic, feels so unlevel. It's pulled that plant out there. It's chopped up those leaves a bit, so I'm thinking sugar beet it might not do it a lot of good. What I'm not sure about is how does it differentiate, if you've got in a proper crop, how does it differentiate between a weed and the crop you want to keep? Very unlevel here for it, so it's not really a true comparison. We now come in the field that the soil's a bit kinder and leveler. Now come into one of our failed Herricote bean, capital bean crops to see if it will, what it will do for the weeds and also the companion crop of the black oats. So it's not fetching that out, and that's a weed, it needs to. Bit of black grass, let's get that out. Yeah, you see these weeds need to come out. And that it's not doing. So just looking at these, it's not pulling them out very well. We're going to do a bit again, just see if it does it second time over. That's still got roots in. So this has been done twice now. That's still rooted. That is. So this now is third time. You can see by the soil, it's into the moisture a bit by the colour of the soil. Now come in another field where we've got the good Herricote beans, the capulate beans, and on the headland anyway they're good there, but not here. So we're just wondering whether it'll pull all these weeds out, because there's a lot of weeds here between the row. Hasn't touched that yet. So this is the third time just on here. Really interesting. It isn't actually disturbing the oats, which is good. And I think if you did it enough times, it would actually get to the weeds and pull them up, because it is loosening them. They are a lot looser. On is pulling out. That's a bit deeper rooted. But some of these smaller ones, yeah, they're a lot looser, but it's not touching the oats at all, which is impressive. You can also make it into row by putting that bracket in there like that. You can lift any row up and down you like to make any row width you like. So you can lift all those up all the way along the machine. And that creates a gap through there where your crop would go. We looked at the rolls, we found 1 or 2 cracks on these rolls, and so Ian's been repairing those. We've just found 1 or 2 more on the hinge points. I'll just show you those. So that's where it's cracked in here. So Ian's plated it, welded around it, plug welded it as well, which means you cut a hole or drill a hole in the plate and then weld inside that hole. So not only do you get strength around the plate, you get welded strength in the middle of the plate. So we've done that, welded in there. And then also that side, done exactly the same, that side, and a plate on the back of it. But I've also found the tops are cracked around this pivot point here. He's welded this one up there, welded that there, you can see around there, but there's a bit more on the inside there, but it needs unfolding, so I'm going to take it out to the doors today and do it in the doorway. But it's windy, and you MIG welder doesn't work very well when it's windy. But these rolls are 10 years old, and they cost us £17,000. Actually, they're 11 years old. They cost us £17,000 when we got them. Brilliant set of rolls, and we don't do everything with them because of the weather, but generally we try to do, if the conditions are right, helps germination and breaks some of the clods down, and just helps the pre-emergence herbicides work better. That's mainly the idea for rolling, especially on heavier land anyway, and then also to firm it up around the roots as well and make the crop perform better. Starting next week to get the sheds ready for harvest. This one's for storing oilseed rape. We've got 9 tons or 10 tons of winter wheat seed left from last autumn, so we're going to put that on the low loader and move that, and we've a little bit of fertiliser. Keys are right, so it's 25% magnesium, 50% sulphur, and that's SO3. So we're going to put all this on the low loader and get it moved up to the other farm out the way. We should get it all on this one load. We haven't got a big bag lifter yet, you'll notice. I did look at the series ones at the show at Cereals. We are looking at them in a minute, but I've heard some people say they got them and they don't use them because they're very easy to see through when you're putting bags on, so I don't really know yet what we'll do.